you're in the hiring process. Now you just created some kind of value, why somebody wants to come work for you. The next step in the whole process is coming up with objectives for this person. Why are you hiring this person? What role are they going to play in your company? What role are they going to play in the growth? What happens to your company if you don't hire this person? So these are your internal goals for hiring somebody. And you got to be realistic about what you're going to hire for, especially being a startup, early stage. How can somebody come in and have an impact? Knowing that you're going to probably say, oh, this person's got to come in and wear a lot of hats. Everybody says that. So just things to think about when making that hire and making the objectives of that hire clear in your head. Go over that, and that's going to, I don't know, help you build your strategy to get the goals met internally. I like to think, I've heard a lot of people say, when I'm building my team, I like to start off building my team with a mixture of been there, done that's, and junior people that are really hungry. So it's creating that dynamic where you have somebody who's really hungry and eager to learn from that senior person. And what do you think about that when you're laying out how you're going to, I don't know, that position?
Well, because everyone talks about Brad Feld, I'll make my required Brad Feld mention. He's got a great post that compares competency and culture. And at Pivot Desk, we've had the typical total disaster from hiring the rock star into your company, right? Everyone overuses that term. It totally didn't work. It was an absolute failure. And so what we look for is a real good balance between those two. Some positions, for example, account management and sales, it's very well defined. Other positions like business development, it's wide open. And we're looking for people that just have, just all over the map type of skills.
Yeah, it changes depending on what size the company you are. And when you're 2 people trying to hire a third and a fourth or whatever, you can't hire that A player, or even though you try to. And so I think it varies based on what you said, like what are you hiring for, what do you expect to get, what are you looking for. But we always ask, LinkedIn's famous. They always, when someone comes in to interview, they say, what do you want your next job after LinkedIn to be? And they sort of work backwards from that of how are we going to get the skills here to allow you to get there. We always ask, what do you want to be doing in 5, 10 years? What's your goal? And then, align the conversation from that.
I think something you said is really key, and it's the size of the company that you're at and the stage that you're at. And I hate to say it, but also the budget that you have, right? I know when we first started, I was the developer. So I had every hat that was possible, I was wearing it. And I remember when I was starting to build my team out, the first thing I did, sure, I'd look at what their technical abilities are, but I'd be looking at what their spirit was like. Do they get what it's like being in a startup? Do they have kind of the entrepreneurial view of it? Do they have that type of drive? And there's a lot of people that I've turned down who are really, really technical, right? They were the best developers I've seen, but they just didn't fit. One thing that I definitely recommend is to use tools that are out there. We use a tool called the Culture Index. Highly recommend it. In fact, as John knows, every one of the guys that we bring on, they take this, and it's just a 15-minute thing that they take online, and it helps me really gauge who they are. Things such as their patience level, their assertiveness, their attention to detail. And I use that based on the type of position that I have. So, for example, if I'm hiring someone that's in a sales role, I'm not looking for someone who has a huge patience level, right? I'm looking for someone who really wants to push this through, get to the next sale, make that money. If I'm hiring someone that's more in a quality role, quality assurance, I want someone that has high attention of detail as well as a higher patience level. So definitely there's tools out there. Culture Index is one of them, but I would definitely rely on those two.
And it's something, how have you been going about addressing diversity, building a diverse team with, women and other? How do you build a diverse team?
Yeah, that's tough. I'll go first because we had the opposite problem. We were, like 65% women for a long time. Not in our engineering team. Those were but it's been hard to hire and find and hire female engineers just because there's not as many of them. But we sell marketing software. We are heavy on the marketing department, and we had some of our early best employees were all women, and we kept hiring women for a long time. I think when we were 10 people, we were 6 or 7 women of the 10, so we had sort of the opposite problem.
Yeah, I think my question was more geared towards engineering teams. But yeah, that's how did you go about that?
It was something that we talked about when we were 2 people, getting this off the ground since day one. One of the first things we did was join NC WIT, which I highly recommend for any company in Colorado. And now Pivot Desk, we're pretty much 50-50 balanced team. And it's good. One of my favorite stories, I don't know if it's true or not, but it's the iPhone left-handed engineer story, where one of the iPhone versions, they had a lot of problems with people holding it in their left hand, and it's because they didn't have too many left-handed engineers on the team, and so it was never tested that way at certain angles. And I deeply believe that the more diverse your team, the more perspectives you're going to get. And if you're a very single-minded team, you're going to build one thing in a very single-minded way, and that's not necessarily the best thing for your end users.
That's always a hard time, I think, certainly from a technical team development standpoint. To make it worse, imagine when you're starting off a software company that does 3D visualization based on computer-aided design and mathematical analysis. Good luck finding female engineers in that. Of heavy equipment, yeah, absolutely. So for us, when we were first starting, certainly in that type of role, it was very, very difficult. As the team grew, really they came to us. My company overall right now, sure, when you sales and marketing, where the majority of the people in sales and marketing right now are female. Engineering, I will admit, we are definitely thin on that. I think probably 25%. It's the nature of our type of team. So I don't really, there's nothing specific that I can do to attract that.